Hello there. Welcome back to the Talk to Me PDD podcast. I'm your host, PDD. It's my opportunity to talk about productivity, people management, leadership, whatever is top of mind. So today is episode 10. Going at double digits feels like a little bit of a milestone. And the title of today's episode is From the Ground Up, which is also a milestone for me. So this is part of the title of the book that I've written, have coming out now. This is a proof copy here. You'll be able to get an actual copy on Amazon when you see this. So, the title of the book is People Management from the Ground Up, a guide for new and aspiring people managers. So, this is a project I've been working on for a little over a year and a half now. So, it took a little bit of time, but really enjoyed the process and trying to put some thoughts together. So, why did I write this book and why the title From the Ground Up? So, trying to capture what my experience was like transitioning from a technical individual contributor engineer role into a leadership and people manager role, and really the book that I would have liked to have as a guide to transition through that period. So I wanted to write it when I was, somewhat close to that period, but still had benefited from the experiences of going through it. So the idea is that it's going to help people go through that transition. And why from the ground up? There's a lot of really great leadership books out there. A lot of them are written by sort of CEOs or high level consultants or even external coaches, which are all great, and I've benefited a lot from those. But I wanted to add the perspective of somebody who's actually doing this work on a day to day job. Um, just to get into some of the tactics and the details and the things that really happen for those of us that are doing this frontline manager or more middle management type work as opposed to C-level leadership roles. So um, the target audience is kind of three different areas. So one would be an individual contributor who's looking to transition into a people manager role or thinking about whether they want to do that, or just trying to understand their own manager and how they can construct their career and the work they do in a way that is going to land well with their manager and people up the management chain. The next is someone who's already moved into a people manager role, but it's their first time doing that, and they're early on, within the first year or so in that role, and just trying to understand all the different things that are changing and that they're going to have to deal with. And there's always new things, but trying to reduce the amount of surprises that come their way, and just to be better prepared and understand the challenges that lie ahead. And then the third target audience is really managers of managers or people that are running training programs for new managers or aspiring people managers to think about using this as a tool to help prepare the people that they're training or the people that they're managing directly. And you would think that everyone who's a manager of manager remembers what it was like to be a frontline manager, but you forget things with time. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to write this book when I did, is so it was still pretty, the experience itself was more fresh in my mind. So if you fall into either of those audiences, I think this book will be interesting to you. If you're just interested in sort of my thought process around management and leadership, a lot of that's captured in there as well. So in terms of the structure of the book, it starts off looking at sort of general individual contributor career progression, which might seem like a strange start for a book on people management. But thinking about, a lot of the audience is not necessarily going to be in a people manager role yet, and how they can develop their own career and build skills that are going to help them transition into a people manager role. And then for someone who is in a people manager role, right, you're going to be managing individual contributors. What are the things that you want to help them develop at various stages in their career? And obviously, every role is going to have specific skills for it. So that's not something that I can cover, but there are kind of a general set of professional skills that I think apply across the board. And from, entry level and junior to mid level to senior level and even beyond that, there are certain basic professional skills that I would expect to see at those levels. So Um, you can think about building those skills for yourself or building those skills for the people that you manage, and thinking about how those play into your or their career progression. Um, so after that, thinking about people who may or may not want to move into a people manager role, what goes into that decision making process, how you can think about developing a philosophy for yourself about what people management means to you and how you're going to approach it. Why you want to do that? Is there a goal or business problem that you're trying to solve that you can only do as a people manager, as opposed to just seeing that as sort of the next logical career progression to get more senior and earn more money. I think it's really important that people managers want to be there and they're looking at people management as a technical skill in a way. And it's just so important for the lives of the people that we impact as managers that we're there for the right reasons. So starting to put together a framework of what that looks like for you if people management is something that's appealing to you. And then just some of the tactics on how you get yourself ready, how you start looking for that role, um, ways to go about that, because it is competitive. And you think about the ratio of people managers to individual contributors, there's obviously a smaller number of people managers to individual contributors. So there will be less potential roles there. So that's the second part. Then the third, going into the transition period for people who do move into that people manager role, some things to think about as your career dramatically changes from an individual contributor to a people manager, and things you want to think about in that time period. Next, looking at the first year as a people manager, because everything's going to be new this time. After you get through the first year, there's a little bit more of a cyclical nature to it. So some things you want to think about and prepare for in the first year. And then, the next is really the bulk of the content, just life as a people manager. There's a lot of different things you have to do, a lot of different things that can happen. So I tried to cover the majority of those things that can come up. Probably not everything's going to happen to you as a people manager, but given enough time, a lot of these things will. So good to be thinking about how you would handle the situation and what your approach is going to be in advance, because it can be hard in the moment when things come up if you're not prepared for them. And then lastly, there's a little bit sort of you know about your own career development, what that looks like as a people manager. It's really something totally different. So even if you're senior as an individual contributor, you're kind of starting fresh as a people manager. Even though you bring a lot of those skills with you, it is something new. And how do you start kind of with a beginner mindset and then build up your experience and expertise? And then at the end of that, just kind of a tiny bit on what it looks like moving from more of a frontline people manager into organizational leadership. So that's a brief summary. Check it out. The paperback content copy is available on Amazon now. We'll do an electronic version probably in a month or so, once it gets that organized and out there. So, please, if you like my content, check it out, buy a copy, review it, share it with your friends, with your peers. And thanks so much.